My name's Jake Miller. I'm 30, live in Chicago, and until not long ago I thought I had it all figured out. I had a good job in marketing, a solid group of friends, and I was engaged to who I thought was the love of my life, Emily Carter. We'd been together for 4 years. Most of those years felt steady, solid, like we were building something real. Emily and I met through mutual friends at a birthday party. She had this sharp confidence, that no BS vibe, and a way of calling things exactly how she saw them. I was drawn to her instantly. I'd dated before, but nobody clicked with me the way she did. We talked all night at that party, and by the end of it, I knew I wanted to see her again. We started dating, and everything moved pretty quick from there. A year in, we moved in together. Our lives started to sync up naturally. She was freelancing as a graphic designer, so she worked from home a lot. My schedule was flexible, and we fell into an easy rhythm. It was the kind of life that wasn't flashy, but it felt real. We cooked together, took lazy walks through the city, talked about the future, careers, marriage, kids someday. All of it felt possible with her. I proposed last year. It wasn't some elaborate stunt, just a quiet dinner at our apartment. I made her favorite pasta, poured a couple glasses of wine, and asked her to marry me right there at the kitchen table. She cried, said yes. We hugged, kissed, and stayed up half the night talking about what came next. It felt like the start of everything we'd dreamed about. We picked a small lakefront venue in Wisconsin. It was cozy, intimate, perfect. Just our closest friends and family. She was buzzing with excitement at first, sending me Pinterest boards, sketching out ideas, even talking about color palettes and flowers like she was a wedding planner in a past life. I honestly loved seeing her that excited. It made me feel like she was all in. But then, something changed. Little by little, that excitement faded. The texts about wedding ideas stopped. The conversations turned shorter. And when I brought up planning stuff, she brushed it off. "We have time," she'd say. "Let's not stress about it now." At first I didn't read into it. People get overwhelmed. Wedding planning's no joke. I figured it was just a rough patch. We'd get through it like we always did. But looking back now, that was the start. The slow unraveling I didn't see coming. That's the funny thing about red flags. They don't always come waving in your face. Sometimes they're quiet, easy to ignore, especially when you're in love and think you're building a future. But trust me, when the crash comes, it's never quiet. I wish I could say I saw it coming, but I didn't. Not until it smacked me in the face. It started small. Emily got distant. She stopped talking about the wedding. Then she started staying late at her studio. Sometimes she'd say she was heading out to meet a client, but wouldn't tell me who. Her phone became glued to her hand, and the minute I walked into the room, it was face down. I knew something was off, but I didn't want to admit it. Denial's comfortable, even when your gut is screaming at you. Then came the night that set everything in motion. We were at a friend's apartment for a game night. Drinks, laughs, that dumb TikTok game called We Listen But Don't Judge. You probably know it. Personal questions, straight faces, fake honesty. Everyone acts cool, but people say things they shouldn't. Someone asked, if you could relive one relationship, which would it be? Without blinking, Emily said, Matt. It was like someone paused the room. Total silence. She tried to laugh it off. Not like I'd actually want to. He was just a big part of my life. Matt was her college ex, the guy who cheated on her, the one she swore up and down was behind her. And here she was, saying she'd go back. I didn't say anything right then. Didn't want to cause a scene, but later that night, when we were alone, I brought it up. "Why'd you say that? About Matt?" She looked at me like I was overreacting. "Jake, it was a stupid game. Don't take it so seriously." But I couldn't let it go. I started noticing things more. The way she smiled at her phone, the night she said she had to stay late, the weird tension that hadn't been there before. Then came that Friday night. I got home early from work, ready for a chill evening. I wanted to cook dinner, hang out, just be together. But when I walked in, the energy was off. She was sitting on the couch with her laptop open, not working, just staring blankly at the screen. "Hey," I said. "I'm home." She looked up. "You're early." No hug. No smile. Just those 2 words. I started making dinner, but the silence in the apartment was so thick it felt like it had weight. Finally, I turned around and asked, "Everything okay?" She closed her laptop and looked at me. And then she said it. "There's something I need to talk to you about." My heart dropped. I could feel the bottom falling out before she even finished the sentence. She hesitated, then finally said, "I've been thinking about us, and about Matt." My whole body tensed. "You've been thinking about what?" She bit her lip. "I think I need a break. I need to figure out if there's still something there with him." And just like that, everything we'd built started to unravel. There's no guidebook for how to respond when your fiancée tells you she wants a break to date her ex. Every instinct in me was screaming. I wanted to yell, to demand answers, but instead I just stood there, holding a damn spatula, staring at the woman I thought I was going to marry. "A break?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "What does that even mean?" She looked down. I need space, time to figure out what I really want. Before we move forward, Emily, we're not in some casual fling. We're engaged. We're planning a wedding." "I know," she said, like she was the one being inconvenienced. "That's why I need to be sure." It was surreal, like I'd walked into a movie halfway through and missed all the setup. Just a week ago we were talking about table settings. Now she's questioning the entire relationship. I wanted to scream, "Are you kidding me?" But instead, I nodded slowly. "Okay," I said. She blinked. "Okay? If you need a break, take one." I could see the shock on her face. She probably expected me to fight, to beg, maybe even argue about how much we'd been through. But I didn't give her that. I gave her what she said she wanted: space. She packed a bag and left the next morning, said she'd be staying with her mum. "This isn't forever," she told me before walking out. "We'll talk soon." I didn't say a word, just nodded, watched her close the door, and then I got to work. The second that door closed, I knew I wasn't just going to sit there. I wasn't going to wait for her to figure out if I was good enough. I grabbed my phone and called Chris. Chris has been my best friend since college. He's the guy who doesn't sugarcoat anything. When I told him what happened, he didn't hesitate. "She said she wants to take a break to see if her ex is still in the picture," he repeated. "Dude, that's insane." "Yeah," I muttered. "She packed a bag like it was a weekend trip." Chris let out a whistle. "Man, you want me to come over?" "Yeah," I said. "Bring pizza. I need to vent." An hour later, he was at my place with food, beer, and zero judgment. I told him everything, how things started slipping, how Matt came up, how she just walked out. When I finished, he leaned back and said, "She doesn't know what she wants. And honestly, that's not your problem anymore." He was right. I'd spent months trying to read between the lines, trying to fix things, but the truth was simple. She bailed. That night, something shifted in me. I wasn't angry. I wasn't broken. I was clear. I wasn't going to sit in limbo while she figured her life out. The next morning, I started untangling my life from hers. First thing, cancelling the wedding. I pulled up the email threads, venue, caterer, photographer, and started pulling the plug. Some of the deposits were non-refundable. Didn't care. Every cancelled plan was like a weight off my chest. Then I looked around the apartment. My place. My name on the lease. She'd made it feel like ours, but now that illusion was gone. I started boxing up her stuff. Clothes, makeup, books, even those dumb throw pillows she insisted on. Everything went into neat little labelled boxes. Then I drove them to her mum's house, dropped them on the porch and left a note. "Here's your stuff. Good luck with Matt." Was it petty? Maybe. But I didn't care. I didn't owe her patience. Not anymore. A week passed. I was finally starting to breathe again. I wasn't okay, not completely, but I was functioning. I was moving. And then she texted, "Can we talk?" I laughed out loud. Of course she wanted to talk. Probably realized Matt hadn't changed. Maybe thought she could slide back in like nothing happened. I stared at the screen for a second, then typed back, "Sure, come by tomorrow." The next day she showed up at the door like she never left. Hair done, makeup flawless, like she'd practiced what she was going to say in the mirror 100 times. I opened the door and stepped aside. She walked in like she still lived there, sat on the couch like we were just picking up where we left off. "Thanks for letting me come by," she said, soft voice, like she was doing me a favor. I stayed standing. "What's up?" She folded her hands in her lap. "I've been thinking, and I have a plan, a way we can move forward." I raised an eyebrow. "Go on." "We should put the wedding on hold, not cancel it, just press pause. That way I can figure things out, and when I'm ready, we can pick things back up." I just stared at her. No words. She really thought that was a reasonable offer. Emily sat there like she hadn't detonated our entire relationship just a week ago. She talked like she had it all figured out, like pressing pause on the wedding was some kind of genius compromise. "It's practical, Jake," she said, nodding like she was solving a real problem. "We've put so much into this. It doesn't make sense to throw it all away over something that might not even matter in the long run. Something that might not even matter." Those words hit me like a punch. She was talking about our relationship, our engagement, like it was a budget report. Like she just needed time to balance the numbers. I didn't say anything at first. Just stared. "You're okay with this, right?" she asked, trying to read my face. "Sure," I said, flat and unreadable. Her eyes flicked toward mine. "Wait, you're okay with it?" "Yeah," I said, casually leaning against the counter. "If that's what you need, take your time." She blinked, caught off guard. I could see the gears turning. This wasn't how she thought this would go. She probably expected a fight, maybe some pleading. Instead, I gave her nothing. "I just don't want you to think this means I don't care," she said quickly, trying to fill the silence. "I do care. I just need to be sure." I nodded. Got it. For a second, she looked like she might say something else. But then she stood up, smoothed her jeans and said, "I'll stay with my mum a bit longer. It's not forever. We'll talk soon." "All right," I said again. Same tone, same calm. She hesitated at the door. "Thanks for understanding." I just nodded. She walked out. And that was the moment it really hit me. This wasn't her decision anymore. She had walked away once. Now she was trying to keep one foot in, like I'd still be here when she came back. She didn't get it. This wasn't her game to control anymore. I watched her car pull away from the window, feeling something shift inside me. Not anger. Not sadness. Clarity. I wasn't going to be the guy waiting around. I wasn't going to be her safety net. If she wanted to play the what-if game with Matt, she could, but I wouldn't be part of it. And I wasn't just thinking it. I meant it. That night, I started clearing everything that reminded me of her. Photos, notes, old texts, all of it. I backed up the essentials and erased the rest. I didn't want to hate her. I just didn't want any part of her still lingering in my world. Emily had made her move, and now it was my turn. After Emily left the second time, I didn't sit around. I didn't text her. I didn't wonder what she was doing or if Matt was treating her better. I knew what I had to do, and it started with erasing every single string she thought she still had tied to me. I started with the wedding. I pulled up the list of vendors again, made the final cancellations, and started closing out any remaining balances. Some deposits were gone for good. Whatever. It wasn't about the money anymore. It was about shutting the door. Then came the apartment. It was technically mine, lease in my name, I paid the rent, but Emily had left her fingerprints on every inch of it. From the throw pillows to the kitchen magnets, this place was a museum of her taste. So I tore it down. I bagged up everything she left behind, clothes, cosmetics, all her little decorative pieces. I labeled each box, drove them to her mum's place, and didn't even ring the doorbell. I left it all there with a single note. "Here's your stuff. Good luck with Matt." It was blunt, but after everything, I figured she could live with blunt. Back at home, the place looked empty, but it finally felt like mine. I opened windows, played music loud, ate takeout straight from the box in the living room, without hearing a single passive-aggressive sigh. It wasn't glamorous, but it was free. A few days passed. Then, right on schedule, she reached out again. "Can we talk? I think we need to clear the air." I almost laughed. Classic move. Probably realized Matt wasn't the guy she remembered. Probably assumed I'd still be holding her spot in my future. I texted back, "Sure, come by tomorrow." Let her think she still had access. She showed up in a neutral-colored sweater, and that fake calm look she always wore when she was trying to seem composed. But as soon as she stepped inside and saw the bare walls, her eyes went wide. "What's going on here?" she asked. "I'm selling the place," I said casually, pouring coffee like it was a normal Tuesday. "You're what?" she blinked. "You're selling our apartment?" "It's not our apartment, Emily. It's mine." The color drained from her face. "Why didn't you tell me?" I shrugged. "Why would I?" She sat down slowly, processing. "You've been planning this. You're just moving on?" "Exactly. But Jake, I told you this wasn't forever. And I told you to take the break you asked for. You made your choice." Her voice shook. "I didn't think you'd actually move on." I gave her the calmest smile I could. "Yeah, well, I did. Emily stared at me like she didn't recognize the person standing in front of her. I didn't think you'd actually move on, she repeated, like saying it again would change the outcome. I didn't flinch. That's the problem, Emily. You didn't think. You figured I'd be here, just waiting for you to come back once you got your clarity. She looked shaken. Jake, I made a mistake. I was confused. Matt wasn't who I remembered. He's still the same selfish guy he always was. I crossed my arms, and it took walking out on me to figure that out. She stepped closer, her voice lower now. I know I hurt you. I know I made the wrong call. But it wasn't because I stopped loving you. I panicked. I got scared. I took a deep breath. I would have worked through that fear with you. We were supposed to be a team, but you didn't give me a chance. You made a unilateral decision, and now you're back here acting like we can hit undo. Her eyes filled with tears. I want to fix this. I shook my head slowly. You can't. It's done. Jake, please. We were going to get married. We were building a life. I walked past her and opened the door, and then you threw it away. She didn't move. I looked back. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Jake, I still love you, she whispered. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. She could see it in my face. It was over. She finally stepped through the doorway, turning around one last time. I'm sorry, she said. I nodded once. So am I. Then I closed the door, and this time I locked it. The silence after she left was heavy, but it was clean. No loose ends. No what-ifs. Just me, in my space, starting over. And it felt damn good. The next few days were quiet. I focused on packing, finalizing the apartment sale, and working. Chris stopped by, checked in, brought beer. How'd it go? He asked. I told him the truth. She came back, said she wanted to fix things. I told her no. He nodded, proud, good. That was the right call. I was done hoping. Done waiting. Done giving second chances to someone who didn't respect the first one. I had a new place lined up, a cleaner head, and more clarity than I'd had in years. Emily was out of my life. Or so I thought. It started with a phone call from my mum. Jake, why am I hearing from Aunt Lisa that the wedding's off, and that it was your decision? I sat down hard. Where did she hear that? From Emily's mum. Of course. She's telling people you called it off. That you blindsided Emily, that she's heartbroken and trying to pick up the pieces. My grip tightened on the phone. That's not what happened. I know that, my mum said. But other people don't. I thought the hard part was over, but now Emily was trying to rewrite the ending, painting herself as the victim. I hadn't even told most of my extended family about the split yet. I'd been handling everything privately, respectfully, but apparently, Emily had no interest in keeping it clean. That afternoon, I got another call, this time from my boss. Hey Jake, just checking in. Everything good? Yeah. Why? He hesitated. A colleague of mine said your name came up in a conversation with someone you used to date. She's apparently going through a rough time and mentioned you. No details, just wanted to make sure everything's okay on your end. Great, so she was dragging my name around professionally now too. I kept it cool. Everything's fine, just a personal situation I'm dealing with quietly. He nodded. Got it. Just don't let it become a distraction. I hung up and stared at the ceiling. I should have expected this. Emily didn't like losing control, and since she couldn't walk back into my life, she was trying to make sure I looked like the bad guy in hers. I could have ignored it, could have let people think what they wanted, but I was done playing nice. That night, I sent a short message to both sides of the family. Just to clarify, Emily and I are no longer engaged. The decision came after a lot of difficult conversations. I wish her the best and ask that everyone respect our privacy and move forward without assigning blame. It wasn't dramatic, but it was clear. I shut the gossip down in one shot. Then I blocked Emily on everything. Phone, email, socials. She didn't get to poke around my life anymore. My mum was a little upset. You could have handled that more gently. I just looked her in the eye. I handled it the only way I could without letting her rewrite my story. And that was the truth. I wasn't bitter. I wasn't angry. I was just done. But Emily? She wasn't finished. Not yet. Emily wasn't done. It started with a DM from our mutual friend Sarah. Hey, just a heads up, Emily's been posting stuff. Not directly naming you, but it's clear. I checked. Sure enough, her social feeds were full of vague quotes and passive-aggressive jabs. Some people throw away diamonds chasing stones, and loyalty means nothing to some. Subtle? Not even close. At first, I felt the sting. I wanted to respond, to set the record straight. But then I realized something important. She was still living in the story. I wasn't. She needed attention. I needed peace. So I did the one thing she couldn't fight. I reported her posts for harassment, blocked any remaining mutuals that stirred the pot, and most importantly, I stopped watching. That was the real victory. Not revenge. Not clapping back. Silence. I reclaimed the narrative by removing myself from hers. One night I was hanging with Chris and our buddy Jake at our favorite bar. The topic came up. Chris raised his beer and said, "Man, you dodged a bullet." He was right. If Emily had pulled this stunt after we got married, with a mortgage, shared finances, maybe even a kid in the mix, it would have been 10 times worse. Instead, I got out clean. A little bruised, yeah, but free. That realization hit hard. Emily showed me exactly who she was, and I believed her. I didn't need her apology. I didn't need validation. I didn't need closure. Because I gave it to myself. Life moved on. The whispers stopped. The Facebook drama dried up. People got bored and found new gossip. Even my mum finally dropped the subject. I settled into my new apartment, started running again, took on a few freelance gigs for fun, met new people, said yes to things I used to put off. It didn't all change overnight. Some nights still felt quiet. Some days I caught myself looking back. But they passed. And eventually, I stopped thinking about her at all. I'd like to say I forgave Emily. But the truth? I didn't. And that's okay. Not everything has to end in forgiveness. Sometimes walking away is enough. Because she taught me something valuable. She taught me what I don't want in a partner. What I won't tolerate. What red flags I'll never ignore again. More than anything, she taught me how strong I really am. And if you've ever found yourself in that same place, abandoned, confused, blindsided, let me tell you this. You don't need their closure. You don't need their explanation. You don't need their permission to move on. You just need to remember who the hell you are. And never let anyone make you forget it again. If this story hit you in the gut, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe for more raw and real stories, and drop a comment below. Would you have taken her back? Or done what I did?